Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is Crimemas Day 6 and today we will be talking about the Amber Alert and the amazing little girl who inspired it. Amber Hagerman was born on November 25th, 1986 in Arlington, Texas. She lived with her mother Donna, her father Richard, and her 5-year-old little brother Ricky. Amber was described to be a happy and bubbly kid that would light up any room that she walked in. At the age of 9, she was part of the Girl Scouts and had a lot of different hobbies, but enjoyed nothing more than riding her bike with her little brother. Now, despite the 3 to 4 year age gap, Amber and Ricky were the best of friends. Anytime it was warm outside, you'd most likely see them on the streets riding their bikes, and this is exactly what they did on January 16th, 1996. When Amber and Ricky got off the school bus, they noticed how sunny it was outside. It wasn't your typical January day, especially not in Texas. So they took this as an opportunity and asked their mother if they could go outside and play. Now Donna agrees, reminding the kids to stay close to their home, don't wander off without the other, and come back before the sun sets. The kids, however, did not comply with this. They headed off to an abandoned grocery store's parking lot and rode their bikes around there. Now, this was not close to their home, but this was pretty near their grandparents' home. And this parking lot was also considered as a safe area because a lot of the local kids would come here to practice riding their bikes and play with one another. The kids were having a blast, but somehow 5-year-old Ricky couldn't help but worry that they were going to get in trouble and that they were going to somehow get caught disobeying their mom's orders. So he tells Amber that they should probably go back and just bike around their house. Amber then tells Ricky that she doesn't want to go home yet, so Ricky goes back home by himself. Now, upon reaching their house, Donna and Richard were already outside waiting, and seeing Ricky all alone, they automatically ask him where Amber was. So he tells them that she stayed in the abandoned parking lot. Donna then calls her father, asking him to pick Amber up and accompany her home. But when the kids' grandfather reaches the abandoned parking lot, it was already swarming with police officers. Worried, he asks them what was going on, not really anticipating the answer that he was going to get. Apparently, a 78-year-old man named Gimme, who lived nearby, heard a high-pitched scream as he was tending to his garden. He then decided to look around, and this is when he saw a little girl matching Amber Hagerman's description, kicking and screaming while being shoved into a dark-colored truck by an unknown man. And just like that, 9-year-old Amber Hagerman was gone. Around 50 police officers from the Arlington area worked on this case nonstop, in hopes of finding the little girl alive and bringing her home safely. However, this abduction case soon turned into a murder inquiry just 4 days later. On January 17th, 1996, as a man was walking his dog around the Forest Hill apartment complex, he spots a little girl's naked body seemingly dumped in a creek. This little girl had nothing but a sock on, and she was obviously murdered. This man calls the authorities right away, and this was quickly confirmed to be 9-year-old Amber Hagerman. She was identified via fingerprints which were in the system due to her school's ID requirements. An autopsy was conducted, and it was found out that Amber had been beaten up. And she also had a very deep laceration on her neck, almost to the point of decapitation. And aside from that, this poor girl was also sexually assaulted by her abductor. And to make things worse, it was discovered that Amber had died on January 15th. And if you remember, she disappeared on the 13th, which means that this little girl had to endure whatever torture was done to her for 2 days before the abductor decided to kill her. Authorities also noted that it was possible that her body was dumped elsewhere and it just washed up on that creek due to a thunderstorm that they experienced in the area. And because of the heavy rains, any form of forensic evidence that may aid in solving this case was destroyed completely. And because of that, this case still remains unsolved 26 years later. However, Amber's story does not end here. Her case may be unsolved, but she did help a lot more kids return to their own families safely. Inspired by Amber's case, a mother named Diane Simone called her local radio station, sharing her idea for stations to broadcast child abductions while they were happening. If they can report weather updates on the spot, why can't they do it for children who are in danger, right? And so many people loved this idea. Thus, that same year, the Amber Alert was created and launched. Aside from being named after Amber Hagerman, Amber Alert also stands for America's Missing Broadcast Emergency Response. If you are somehow not familiar with this, an Amber Alert is basically a child abduction alert system that not only warns the public of a child going missing, but also sends out details that could help find the kid. For example, if a child goes missing or gets abducted, an alert is sent out with that child's name and basic information, where he or she was last seen or taken from, the description of the possible abductor or vehicle used to commit the crime. In sending this information out to the public, people in that community are made aware of a certain child's situation, and they would be able to potentially help in retrieving this child and returning him or her home. And since being launched in 1996, the Amber Alert system has been able to rescue and bring more than 1,000 kids home to their families. And aside from this, the Hagerman family also worked with the Class family, whose daughter Polly also went missing just 3 years prior to Amber, in making the sex offenders registry happen. And this is a big deal. The Sex Offenders Registry allows people to access the list of sex offenders living in their area and sets out a notification should a new offender moves nearby. So even though Amber Hagerman's case is still unsolved and her abductor and killer is still possibly out there, she was able to help other kids go home to their families, sort of like a guardian angel for other children. But who knows, technology keeps on evolving and improving, and somehow, someday, Amber's family might get their answers and have some closure at least. Hopefully, this case would be put to justice, and soon. And that is all that I have for you guys for today's video. As usual, I would love to hear your thoughts on this case. Should there be any other case that you would like for me to cover, please let me know by leaving a comment. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys tomorrow.